Mr. Attorney General, as you see it, what brought about the Negro Revolution of 1963, and where do you think it's going?
Well, I think it's been a long time coming. I think it's years of suppression, abuse, being treated as second-class citizens and being subject to injustices. During that same period of time, at least over the period of the last 2 decades, having more of an opportunity to gain an education. In fact, the communications are so much different now than it used to be in the past. Television. I think this media, and as well as newspapers, points out to the Negro what his secondary role has been. This plus his education and years of suppression has led to this revolt that is taking place at the present time. It was bound to come. It's just a question of when it would come.
What part would you say the government played in bringing it to a head this year?
I don't think the government plays any part in bringing it to a head. We've been trying to deal with the injustices that have existed and to enforce the law, laws on the books dealing with voting, schools, other matters. And we've been active in our efforts to try to enforce the law and do all in our power in this area. But as far as bringing about the situation that exists at the present time, the demonstrations that have occurred, some of the disorders that have been created in some of the cities, the efforts to keep down the Negro, all of these clashes that have taken place, we have had no role. We've tried, when it's come to a head, to try to establish some communication between races in the various communities. In some cities we've been successful, in others we have not been successful, and there's still great problems.
What degree of communication do you feel has now been reached?
Well, I think it varies. I think that the situation now is better than it was several months ago on a national level. But I think that at the local level, in some communities, there's absolutely no communication whatsoever. Negroes refuse to talk to whites, or whites are refusing to talk to Negroes. I think that's one problem. And then I think in other communities, the Negro leadership has not been what it might be, and therefore communication has broken down. In other cities, the political leadership of the whites has led those leaders to feel that they either cannot afford or it's not politically wise for them to talk to Negroes, communicate with Negroes, and therefore communication is broken down. So I think it varies across the country. In my judgment, communication, a real dialogue, a meaningful dialogue between the races is what's going to achieve an answer to this problem in the long run. And I don't mean just the southern cities. I think northern communities as well. Northern communities, frequently there's discussion, but there's a complete lack of understanding, and there's not an effort to understand, which I think frequently both sides are at fault. But I think in the last analysis it depends on a real effort by everybody to have tolerance and understanding and to try to talk and understand the other person's point of view.
Could you tell us a little about what the government has done to bring about this real dialogue that you speak of?
Well, we've frequently acted in the role of a catalyst of trying to impress upon whites or Negroes the importance of sitting down and talking to one another, of whites listening to Negroes air their grievances. Frequently we found that there have been demonstrations that have taken place, and nobody in the white community understands what the demonstrations are about. They don't understand what steps need to be taken in order to remedy a situation. On the other hand, we found Negroes that sometimes are demonstrating just to demonstrate, demonstrating without any clear reason, purpose in their demonstrations. I mean, this has happened frequently. So what we've attempted to do is to get both sides to talk to one another, to try to define what the issues are, what the problems are, what steps could be taken to remedy the situation. And we've done it and attempted to do it in a quiet way. And I think in some places I say it's been successful, and others we have not been successful, and there are still problems.
Mr. Attorney General, do you see the Negro playing a changing role in American political life?
Well, I think that as education improves and Negroes exercise their franchise, they'll play a more forceful role. In some of the southern states, it's a question of Negroes voting suits, which will permit Negroes to register and to participate in elections. And this has not occurred in the past, but I think that they will be more active in the future as these voting cases are finished and are successfully concluded. In the North, just like every lower economic group, there's a lower percentage of registration with Negroes, and as I say, with those who are less well off and live in neighborhoods that are that have problems. So as they gain a greater education and their economy improves, economic life improves, they're moved to other neighborhoods. I think that there's no question that the trend will improve as far as Negro participation in elections and in the political life of the community.
When will the time come when the United States conceivably would have a Negro president?
I have no idea.
Thank you very much. Mr. Attorney General, do you think the passage of legislation is going to go a long way towards solving this problem, or will we still have considerable work to do on this?
Well, I think that we're going to have difficulties and problems for some years to come. I think that the legislation is a step forward and an important step forward. And I think that it's important because it will reestablish the confidence of Negroes that whites and Negroes are going to work together to try to solve these problems. But in the long run, in the last analysis, legislation, this is a step forward, but just a very important, essential step. But in the last analysis, it's not the answer.
If you were to ask the average citizen to do any one thing to help with this problem, what would you ask him to do?
Well, I think just determining in one's own life and one's relationship with other people, with young people that are coming along, with students, in your day-to-day relationship, that you're living, you're treating other people who perhaps have a different religion or different color, different nationality or different race, that you're treating them and helping them as you'd like to be helped, assisted, and treated.